Just make sure the recorder is going. My new computer's super fast.
All right, test.
My new computer's super fast. Just let me test the recording.
Test. Testing my mic.
Just let me test the recording.
All right, I'm really soft for some reason. Test.
Sounds like I'm really soft.
On the Twitch, I'm soft.
Sounds like I'm really soft.
I think we're okay. I'll just move my mic a bit closer. Boom, right there.
Oh. Well, you should, because then it won't.
All right, good. All right. We are good to go whenever you like.
Okay, you gotta stop banging your desk then, bro. That's the only problem with those Yetis, is when they're on the desk they bang.
Yep.
Like they're very the put like a foam pad under it.
Oh, I had it on the dice board and then all 6 objective markers.
Yeah, that's why I got the. You need an arm for it for sure. Buy an arm; they're cheap, $30.
Yeah, but I don't podcast from a desk. It's my gaming table. All right, I put on some more mouse pads.
Oh, you'll be fine. Good evening and welcome to CanHammer, your stop for Warhammer 40,000 from the Great White North. Today's show is episode 146. It's going to be a kind of a general catch-up show. We have some mail and a whole bunch of things like that we have to catch up on from about September. I'd say we've been backlogged. So we've handpicked, 4 or 5 good emails that we'll go through and at the end of the show, and hopefully it's interesting. We also have a lot of cool stuff on the horizon that we want to talk about. Sorry. So I'm going to hand it off to Darren to pay the bills.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone for their support. Especially want to thank.
Actually, wait. Did we forget? To say who? I forgot to say who we were. Right?
Oh, people pretty much know now.
They know. Chris at CanHammer Chris on Twitter and Instagram,
and Darren everywhere.
So, like, if you read a post and it's not signed, it's Darren.
It's definitely me. Or if I refer to myself as the I, it's probably me.
Because I'm like, Darren's like, I bought my plane ticket to Adepticon, posted his CanHammer. I'm like, yo, bro, I bought mine first. Is that me? Is that you? Nobody knows. Nobody knows who's going to Adepticon. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it'll be my first time, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but we'll just turn the lights are starting to flicker, so let's pay those bills.
Yeah, so thank you very much for our big sponsors. We have Dan from Sequence Comics, Martin over at Dice and Decks, and actually I let Martin know when Capital City is going to be if this year he doesn't leave it to the last minute to try and get some flights over. And we've got Dave at Tista Minis and Hoyt up in Thunder Games and Gifts. Those are big sponsors. Thank you very much. And all our patrons, thank you, all our patrons. And everyone who's subscribing on our Twitch channel and following on the Twitch channel, making it grow nice and steady. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good stuff. We also have a Facebook page. So like that.
We
Facebook.com/CanHammer.
Are we at 1,000 likes yet?
I think we're just shy.
We were like 7 away like a few days ago.
So if you want to... Oh, yeah, we must have been over there by now. But... you can make it. We can go for our next goal, 1,100. So
986. We're at 986.
Oh, we didn't even. So we went down.
No. We needed like 12 more or whatever. We're at +5 this week. So.
Well, if you want to support us, go for
it. Get your mothers to like it.
So before we get into the news, what have you been up to, dude? We haven't. It's. I did a couple podcasts with on AOS, but I don't think we've sat down and had a chat for a while, just the two of us.
Yeah, I had to bail from that one. It's been so busy. December leading up to next week is like Christmas party season. It's like so many parties, and it's been so busy. But yeah, I've
I
been
just bail on them. I just bail on them
you
if I
just
don't want
been
to
on the
go.
parties. I don't know. I like the parties, so they're fun. It's a chance to talk to people you don't only see that once or twice a year. So it's pretty cool. Otherwise, I've been trying to keep the Twitch hammering over with a game every week and another kind of TV episode every week. So trying to keep that going.
Is
And
that primarily 40K? Like you've been playing your Custody still, or are you onto something?
no, I've been mixing it up. I've played my Custodies once or twice. Tau, Jukari, got the Orcs on a couple of times. And so trying to mix up an AOS game, which was pretty good. Deepkin versus Destruction, Iron Jaws. And yeah, so I'm trying to mix it up, trying to keep both going as much as I can. Haven't figured out a good way of streaming Night Vault. Because like I figured you would need like a camera behind each player to show their hand for like the most
Maybe.
informative. Otherwise, it's like you don't get a feel of the strategy. But I don't know if I can figure that out. But yeah, I've been trying to just do a lot of streaming and filming bat reps at the same time, and so it's kept me busy for sure.
You don't really hobby much anymore, do you?
Oh man, my hobby is falling behind. It's taken me like a month to prime some chain rasps. It's like, oh, it's so hard, and like my daughter, and yeah, it's so hard to find hobby right now. But hopefully, I can get some done over the holiday.
Yeah, I got my orcs assembled and primed for in prep for the tournament tomorrow. We got basically tomorrow is the launch for Chapter Approved.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going. It's Sequence, one of our sponsors in Brockville. He's doing like a launch party. So I wanted to make sure that I had because we played on like I had an orc list, and then I tweaked it a little bit, so I had to assemble the rest of just another unit of shoot of boys basically, and get some commandos ready to go. So I've been working on that stuff, and then I purchased, in a moment of weakness, the Warhammer Underworlds carrying case.
Show it on screen. Show it on screen. Oh, there it is.
I love the like green color, and it's pretty awesome actually. It fits everything you need to play. You can throw it in your backpack and go straight from like work to a game. It fits in your luggage. It's super handy just to have a Shadespire crew with you at all times, or two. It'll fit two crews. Pretty. It'll fill it up, but you could definitely bring two with you everywhere you go. So that's kind of my plan. Play more Shadespire.
When I was at the store, I saw that, and I'm like, oh, sweet. So I picked it up, and then I was looking at it for like 10 minutes, like Bad Angel on one side, like Devil on the other shoulder, and in the end, the soft, like it's not soft, but it's not hard case, and then so I put it back. But maybe you'll change my mind now.
I'm not worried. You wrap it in a few shirts in your luggage, you'll be fine. I just had luggage get run over by a truck, so as long like if that happens, it's gone anyway. But maybe the airline will pay for it.
Yeah, shout out to Spellbreakers. He's a new player who loves listening to our podcast, listening right now on Twitch. So big shout out. Thank you very much for listening.
There you go. Yeah, so that's it. I built a new computer, so hopefully I can actually stream from my basement. That's the plan, and that's been it. So new releases. What news come out, buddy?
Well, nothing. I know that Corn and Slightly Crazy Slanesh box is coming out. Pre-order this week and coming out next week, I guess. And there's been some leaks of new rules and data sheets for like Corn and Slanesh stuff. So, and of course the rules for that new Karnak model with the 3 heads.
Yeah.
I don't know how he suddenly got 3 heads from one. Did he always have 3 heads? I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know.
I can't remember
rules coming out.
Yep. So do you know any of the what's the gist of the rules for them?
I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. People have been banding about. I think they're getting some new formations, like some of them got in the Vigilus. But it remains to be seen. I don't know if I need to buy that, actually. Is it a thing? It's like, are we getting into the whole you have to buy every box for every little formation now situation like we had in 7th? It feels a little bit like that.
Yeah, so why don't we explain that a bit more? So they've leaked that there's going to be a return of formations.
Yeah, well, it's not leaked. It's the Vigilus book is a book of formations, basically.
There you go. That's what I meant. But that it's not out yet, so it was leaked that's coming out. Right? Is that what I'm trying to say, buddy?
It's coming out tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So Do you know how these things work? Do you have to pay points for them? Anything
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah. So basically, each formation tells you what can go in the formation. And it's not a formation like in seventh where those things are actually like a self contained unit. So you have like your battalion of whatever, guardsmen. And then within there, you could take some of those units might be members of this specialist formation, and you pay a CP in order to use that formation, and then the members of that formation, the specialists or veterans, get extra stratagems and extra relics and abilities and stuff. So it's not like you take your Riptide Wing and you have in that it's like a separate detachment. So it doesn't mess with your Force Org chart.
Yeah.
But whatever's in that, who are the specialists, they get. So it might be a little bit of bookkeeping actually, but it's probably going to be fine. They're not that
It's very,
complicated.
very AOS-y, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where you just take the units, you pay the points, and it applies a special ability to those units.
Yeah, it's like battalion. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I like it. I do feel like there is book overload still. It depends on the faction you play. And now that I've switched to orcs, I've actually been able to, it's like instead of taking 3 codex books with me, I only have to take one, which is really refreshing because I don't play index either. So I don't have to take the index with me, which is handy with the ETC rules. Yeah, I'm kind of interested, but yeah, you're right. If that book comes out, you have to purchase it. It's not like an AOS where there's an app where you could purchase individual formations or battalions that you want. You have to basically get the book for now. I don't think that 40K app is ever going to come with free rules.
That was one of my Christmas top 3 wish lists.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's coming, and so it's interesting. It's interesting. So Chapter Approved was leaked as well. That does drop tomorrow. So if you're listening on iTunes, it probably has already dropped. They've developed some Sisters of Battle rules.
Yeah,
they've kind of streamlined their acts of faith. They're more like you have to just kind of it's like casting a psychic power, but not really.
yeah. So
you just have to roll 2d6 and get higher than a number.
Yeah, you have to like accumulate these like faith points, and you get faith points depending on how many sisters you actually have in your army, and there's probably going to be things that give you bonuses and stuff. And then actually I have it right here, I just haven't read it. And then you start the roll. So I think the double move one is like on a 5-up or something, but then certain people give you bonuses and stuff.
Yeah, that's reasonable. You can get off most of the time.
So you think the rumor is that this is a test for a Ynnari book, and that Marked for Death is going to become like that? You think that's a cool thing?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever getting a Ynnari book. Why would you? Why would you release a book for something that has one box set of models?
Make more models.
Nah, I don't think so. I think Ynnari is just going to be one of those index things that fades out eventually.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, but that's cool that they did kind of tease and promise a Sisters of Battle Codex or Adeptus Astartes Codex, not Astartes, Adeptus Sororitas Codex book coming out. So it's kind of interesting that they're kind of play testing or releasing the rules for the mass public to kind of play test for them, which is really nice. Because it means, maybe they'll do this every year because most of the books are developed now. So if they want to redo a book, they could kind of release some teaser stuff and then move on in the future. Because, they're really reluctant to change battle tomes or individual units data slates.
Yeah.
They tend to keep them the same, and they're balancing the game by using points and things of that nature and kind of changing rules of the game to fix it. So that way that when you buy them all and you get the rules in the box, I believe it's still consistent, which I agree with. I agree with. Points doesn't solve anything, but
yeah,
should be interesting. Now, a lot of things dropped. We're not going to go through the Chapter Approved right now, but significant drops for a lot of weaker units. A few things went up that made sense, Zangor and things, but, anything that was a medium choice went down several points. So things like rubrics, which were, not terrible. They were decent. They just weren't like the top tier. Them going down in points makes them a lot more attractive now.
Yeah, we had, if you watched the stream on Tuesday, you saw my now 31 point cheaper broadsides just wreck Ludas. And
how'd they wreck the Ludas?
Oh, dude, 2 broadsides killed the whole Luda unit after the Fire Warriors killed all the Grots. It's pretty crazy. And then, of course, Grey Knights literally is like a Black Friday sale. They just got slashed like 50% off across the board.
Yeah.
And so we've got somebody on the chat called Perturabo or Pert for Rabo. He says he's bringing Orcs Blitz Brigade tomorrow. Are you ready for that, Chris? I don't know what Orcs Blitz Brigade is, though.
I'm not ready for
one of the
that.
new formations? Not ready for that. And Rograx,
Not ready for that.
who I think is Tom. I may be mistaken. I believe that's Tom. He said he needs to move back to North America because your model room is about half the size of his house. And that would be about right.
Yeah. There's more over there too, but you can't see it.
It is Tom.
Oh,
Yeah, it is Tom. Tom Layton.
yeah. I'm almost done and ready for the reveal. I'm like 98% done the hobby room. So
Let's just say, Tom, that when I was at Chris's house, we were thinking of holding like a 50-man invitational tournament there. And he has a bouncy castle in the basement.
Yeah, that's for Will Paul. Yeah.
This is for Will Paul.
Okay. So do you think, the only army that really sticks out as a big improvement would be the Grey Knights? I know like there's lots of units and lists are going to change and things like that. But do you think a 50% approximately point slash on the Grey Knights is good enough?
No.
Do you think they're still...
They just need better stuff. So they didn't unnerf their smite, which people thought that they were going to do. You can field more, but they're still slightly overpriced power armor marines, and power armor marines are still overpriced. So yeah, they didn't make any Primaris Grey Knights. So yeah, and it's the sisters who got the crazy -2 AP 2 damage Stormbolter stratagem. So yeah.
Yeah, and you can get a lot of good Stormbolters in Sisters Army these days. So yeah. I used to have a whole stack of the metal models with the Stormbolters. I still do. They're in a bin somewhere, and I'd be like, why would you ever want to use Stormbolters? And now, yeah, you want to use Stormbolters.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, Marines dropped a lot. Many of the Marines units dropped a lot, but I don't think that makes them super good. Maybe one or two of the formations. Like the Raven Wing formation is kind of cool. Definitely going to try that out, but I don't think we're not going to be seeing like Marines win LVO. I don't think. I mean, I'll eat my words if they do. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't even believe the meta is gonna change that much. But I actually want to get back to broadside shooting orcs for a second because I was been running the numbers. How did all your fire warriors kill all the grots?
Yeah, so
he was too close. Was he too close?
He was too close, so that I got 2 and 3 shots per warrior off on his grots. And they kill grots pretty easily. Strength 5, so wounding on 2s, right? And then with only 2 grots left for the shield, brought 2 broadsides just with a reroll wound stratagem, and 5 marker lights, just wrecked the Ludas. They were just gone. The whole half of the table was just wiped in one turn. The Riptide helped with the grots too, just with smart missiles and all that stuff, right? So
yeah, tower thing, man, because I haven't beaten Tau in a while, actually. I haven't played them that often, but they could definitely use a slight points drop, and so they might be a real power coming up, because I know the broadside bomb, Devin's been running it and been very successful. And with the fact that they've gone down a little bit, maybe LVO is going to be won by Tau this year.
Right after the game, I was like, yo, Logan, do you have any more broadsides? Because those are his, but he only had 3, so...
Yeah, they're even before the nerf, they were solid. They also work really well in doubles and team tournaments, depending on how they work, because they basically get to overwatch if any friendly unit is charged within range. So you can use those broadsides to basically stop your army from getting charged. Right? When I played Tau last, that's what I had to deal with. It was just a ball of Tau, and you're like, I can't actually charge you. So if I don't outshoot you, which very few armies do nowadays, I'm in trouble. So I'm definitely thinking an era of Tau could be among us or upon us.
Basement Collective Kevin says that we all suck, but I guess we'll see maybe in 3 or 4 weeks up at the old team tournament there, Kevin.
Yeah, we're going to come and be pretty aggressive there.
Verbally aggressive.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for Sudbury. It's basically a 4-man ETC style team tournament in the frozen wastelands of Northern
It
Ontario.
will literally be a frozen wasteland.
This is the first time Darren ever gets to play on Team CanHammer.
Yeah, I feel so privileged.
do you? Do you? It's because Will Paul said no.
On the backup.
Will Paul's backup.
Oh, he's backed out now. He said he's not playing. He's just running it. So
Who, Kevin?
yeah, that's too bad.
He's scared.
Yep.
Anyway, Kevin, hope you're feeling better and you're healthy after leaving the hospital. So hopefully everything's going well with you, man. Keep strong. Okay, so let's move on to some email. The first one that I want to go over, it's not like we're just going to go through email. This email was handpicked because he has some really good points that I wanted to talk about specifically going into the LVO season. And maybe we kind of contribute to a little bit of this fear, I guess you could say. So this is from Adam. He's from St. Catharines, Ontario. And, you know, he got out of the hobby, and then all of a sudden he's been getting back into it. And
That tends to happen.
he wrote a very long, very thought out, good email. But the main point that I want to talk about is he's back into the game, and he's a little bit upset about some of the things that he's been seeing in the tournament scene. Maybe they're real, maybe maybe he's correct, or maybe it's just kind of the way it appears. And so I'll read this. He doesn't mind going to lose. If he wants to be competitive in a tournament, he's worried that he needs to assemble a force that basically mirrors what seems to be most players' armies. And he says, for most of our tournament reports, Drukhari, Ynnari, Eldari, and Thousand Sons seem to be the top or better lists. He admires each faction, is thinking about Thousand Sons as they're one of his favorite trader legions. But, you know, what is it? Let me skip ahead a bit. So he's just kind of wondering, what is that true? Like, do you have to play those factions? Is there there it is. Okay, never mind. I found what I highlighted. Basically, what I'm getting at is, while I dove into the hobby headfirst and chose Dark Angels of Wolf, I wonder if I've made an error assuming that I want to play a tournament or even just win a few games at my local shop. What are your thoughts about this? So do you think that people have to play maybe the big 5 books to win?
I mean, no. I think Nick Nanavani going 4-1 with Ultra Shame is a great example of skill.
What's Ultra Shame, though?
It was basically a bunch of Space Marine characters, some assassins, and Space Marines. And he
was it ITC?
Yeah, it was ITC. He went 4-1 at a 60, 70 man tournament, and you know, because he's a good player. But
it's not just that. So it depends on the format you're playing in.
Yeah.
If you have lots of characters and assassins, you're always going to get score objective, kill a unit. You're probably going to deny kill a unit a lot of turns.
So
you know, there's some shit like. I don't want to. That list, if it's the one I'm thinking of, is very effective at certain things.
Yep. So I think you don't have to play the big books. It just so happens that people tend to gravitate to the books that are obviously well written and have a lot of powerful units. You know, and our meta is not quite the same as south of the border. You know, we don't see as much guard as they do. There's plenty of guard. We don't even see that many Castellans. I mean, we didn't have that many Castellans at CCBB, did we? And that was the height of the Castellan guard army era. So you know, it's different depending on where you go. And I think that if you want to go and win LVO, then you might need to either be extremely good player or be good. You still have to be good at playing those top lists. You know, you can't just rock up with a double spear Ynnari be the first time you play it and expect to win LVO with that, right? Like, you still have to be good at it. So yeah, it depends what you're trying to win, really.
So my point on this is, if you're listening to our show and you hear us talk about that, those lists that were mentioned, like obviously Thousand Sons get a ton of airtime because I play them, Jason plays them, Andrew Weber plays them, Nick Blackburn plays them, and they kind of all play in our group. Mind you, I've never seen Weber actually play, but
That's because he paints
so
one model
Thousand
every
Suns
3 weeks.
get a ton of airtime in our group just because that's what a lot of us seem to like. And as somebody told me, if Chris likes something, it's the best thing in the world. So I tend to hype up. I tend to hype up what I like, which is everybody does that. So that's true. So that you have to remember there's bias there, and of course Darren plays a lot of custodies, so he's going to talk a lot about them losing, and a lot of the big players in our area, Jason, Scary, Devin, they all played Eldar at their prime. They were really good. Tim plays Eldar. He's a really good player. So it's that they're really good and popular. I wouldn't necessarily say you need to play Eldar to win, but it definitely helps. If you really want to win, you have to kind of be above the curve. So because his one comment in there is, it seems like one guy wins the tournament with 15 people behind him playing the same list. And that is true. But you want to be the guy that maybe had that list a few months earlier and has played 50 more reps with it. Or you want to be the guy that's on to the next list. So when this chapter approved drops tomorrow, the true guys that want to be really competitive, they don't go into that chapter approved and go, hey, I want to play this army because it's cool. They go into it and they go, which army was like good, but just had like a pretty big points drop in certain areas. For example, the Tau, the broadsides, like broadsides were definitely playable competitively. They weren't a winning list, but now that they've dropped in points, they might be. And also some of the other counters or really good lists. Like what really screws up Tau is Yanari, or specifically Shining Spears really, really screw with Tau because they can easily charge a unit, wrap it, and just keep going through the army. So if you see things like, the good players that are trying to win events, they're watching for shifts like that. Like Tau is really good except for against Eldar. Holy crap, Eldar just got nerfed. Tau went down slightly. They're now like crazy good. They start playing them, run a couple reps, and then, 3 or 4 big tournaments later, you're going to see 15, 20, 30 people pulling that army out because they saw the list online, or they came to that conclusion naturally just by playing more reps because maybe they don't play as often and it took them an extra month or two. So that's really how you win. Is if you want to be a competitive Warhammer player, I don't think you can be attached to an army, and you don't necessarily want to go to where all the sheep go. I mean that in a nice way, but
yeah, it's
you
hard
want
to innovate though too.
It's very hard to innovate.
It's really hard.
And to be honest, if you're coming at it fresh, that's the easiest way to really develop your skills as a gamer, because a huge part of the game is list building and model buying. That's why a lot of people get frustrated when things aren't fully painted, because it means that you're not, it's not really a tax. They see kind of building and painting as a tax on competitiveness. But if you go out there and you buy like the perfect best army that maybe somebody played at a big GT and won with, you can then just concentrate on playing the game. You don't have to worry about buying models and making lists. And I think that's why a lot of lists get samey is people see what's good and what's winning. They gravitate to that so that they can eliminate that workload. It's like if you're training for a sport or something like that, and you can magically buy shoes that make you run super fast. Well, then you don't have to worry about jogging. If you're playing like soccer or footy, you don't have to worry about jogging. You can already run super fast, so you can just work on technique. And that's what buying a super competitive cookie cutter build is you're eliminating one aspect of the training. So if you look at the whole year as a training, and and a lot of people do that with pre-painted armies. So if you went out and you commissioned the top army, you build it, now all you have to do is play games. So all your Warhammer time can be to scheduling games, going to events. You don't have to worry about the other aspects of it kind of slowing you down. So you have to figure out what your goal is and move towards that. It is kind of sad that if you're not playing one of the big five, I don't think you're going to be in the top of a big event. But I think if you want to be top half, top 25%, you can do it with any army.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
That was kind of a rant, but I've been thinking about this email all day, trying to, you know what I mean? So, because it's really good, and I read it before, so like, because we're really late getting back to him, so it kind of sat with me, and I really, you got to stress that you don't have to do it, but it just makes it easier.
Yep.
Any comments, Darren? I kind of stole the show there.
No, I was going to say exactly the same thing. So,
I would love to say, like, and so for his example, he likes Dark Angels.
yeah.
There's a really good Dark Angel list right now. It's not perfect. I've played against aspects of it, but the infantry Dark Angels seems to be really good. I haven't looked at the points cost of the Raven Wing, but there's been a lot of hype over Raven Wing from GW and formations and things. So maybe they're trying to do something with that. But if you're looking for like gunline infantry, an Azrael Devastator Dark Angel army is still not terrible. It's arguably the same or a little bit worse in some ways and a little bit better in other ways than the Ultramarine gunline. But it definitely works, and you'll definitely win a lot of games with it. But it'll be a lot of Devastators and Azrael and Lieutenants and Aggressors maybe. But you could mix factions with Space Marines. That's kind of the best part of them.
Yeah.
And I believe, and if you buy the starter box, so I believe he bought the starter box, and he has, because it's Dark Angels and Death Guard, right? The new one?
No, it wasn't Dark Angels.
No, it's Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it can be depressing that, you really, like I would love to play Dark Angels. I played that all through 7th. That was my first big army, and I would love if I could play that. And when I bring it out against a pretty fluffy, Eldar list, it just get wrecked. But, at the end of the day, like, everybody has their turn. Even Dark Eldar finally got their turn, or Drukhari now is known. So
and a turn they got, man.
Yeah. So, and orcs, right? Orcs are back. So everybody gets their turn, and I think GW is way more aware these days of what the competitive scene is doing. So I think people can be confident that maybe they'll get their turn, and you should just play what you really like. Because if you play what you really don't like, then you won't like playing.
No, I think you should. So don't play the best army to win. Don't play purely what you like unless it's a decent book. And that sounds bad, but the advice I would always give is there 3 factions that maybe you really like? And then pick the better of the 3. Because honestly, I've seen a lot of people pick up what they love, and very few people stay with what they love very long. They switch armies if it's not a decent book. For example, Grey Knights. You could love Grey Knights till the end of the world. We'll see what after this weekend has in store. But prior to that, it's just there was almost no point in playing them competitively. You'd have to play them softer with a softer opponent and a softer army list. But I know.
We got a question from Twitch. What defines the top 5 books?
Well, whenever I define the top 5 books, that's my gut. That's what I see. That's what I'm scared of. That's what I debate playing. So a lot of what I do competitively is behind the scenes. So for my, sorry, I dropped my phone. For my perspective, I'm always in at least 2 or 3 group chats, various team chats, talking about what we want to bring. So if I'm going to the Adepticon 4-man team tournament, the 3 or 4, 5 options that I'm looking at are probably the 3 or 4 or 5 best books. And that's very subjective. It's just, you could look at a tournament and you could see Ultramarines in second place to Eldar Ultramarines, Eldar. It may not even mean that I go, hey, Ultramarines are a good book. There's a lot more factors that factor into that, but there's definitely 2 types of good books. There's good books that a newbie can handle, and there's good books that are very complicated. I'm trying to think of a good example, like Harlequins. That's it. So Harlequins are a really, really, really good book, but most people can't play Harlequins well. So you have to be a seasoned, experienced Harlequin player and you can probably take that book to places and just dominate. But it's very rare to have that happen. Whereas something like even like Yanari, it's not it's not as newbie friendly as people kind of tout online.
No, I think
Whereas,
it's not UV friendly at all.
No, it's very challenging to play well because one mistake you can lose your Shining Spears like that, and then they're gone. Even if you have 3 units, Jason, which you shouldn't do.
Of eels.
Of eels with the wrong bases. Jesus. But there's that. And then there's like newbie friendly armies, like things like knights. Certain knight lists are very, very friendly and easy to be a top competitor with. Tau in some builds were kind of like that. And the great thing about Tau is that they were newbie friendly because generally in a game, you need to know before you start the game if you need to push or if you need to pull back. So you need to know before you start deploying, what army am I playing against? Do I push, secure the board, aggressive? Do I hide in a corner and play the objectives out? You have to really know that stuff before you go in. And so armies like Tau, when you have a matchup that you don't know, you can just, your default mode is sit in a corner and shoot.
Sit in the corner and shoot, yeah.
Which is very safe. So it's a very safe army. But then again, the Tau requires some nuance in that you can get like charged and tied up. And
target priority is super important.
Yeah, and like terrain placement, you don't want to be too close to a wall where somebody can charge you without getting overwatched. A lot of cool things like that. So it depends what you're asking. If you're asking, Chris, what's a good book? Well, are you a seasoned player? Or are you a newbie? It really depends. Like I would say Knights are probably one of the easiest books to figure out because, you know, you take a couple. It depends what your build you're going for. If you're going primarily for like other stuff in one night, or if you're going for like 3 or 4 nights, then it just depends what you want. But if you're going for like a 3-night army where you want to have 3 of them, there's very few things that you can do with them that's effective. And generally they want to move forward. They can't really get locked down that easily by things like bikes and things they can, but infantry they can just kind of walk out of combat with. And it's very hard, even for seasoned players, to lock a knight in combat and cause it to stay, because you have to really like surround it, which, you know, if somebody screws up, if somebody screws up and throws a knight right in the middle of your army and you have 1,000 guys, yeah, you're going to do it. But most people won't do that, or they'll learn really quickly not to. So it's pretty straightforward. Whereas, yeah, as we said, I still think the books that a good player, that are really, really good in the hands of a good player, they're always going to be the best books, because once you get proficient with them, they're the best. So you can't beat them.
So we've got hello Snoop DeVille 3. Thank you for joining us. We have Tom top 5, and see if you agree with his top 5. So Craft Worlds, Drukhari, Orcs, Tau, and Thousand Suns.
Yo, there's nothing wrong with that list, for sure. So there's a couple misleading things about that list. Craft World on their own, great. Craft World mixed with other Eldar, amazing. So if we're kind of looking at it like one-off books, yes. Now, Thousand Suns, they don't generally work alone. They work with Chaos Space Marines. So that's kind of, you know, but I get what you're saying. It's the best book out of the Chaos ones, but it goes, you can't really make a good Thousand Suns list without Chaos Space Marines and or Demons. So it's a little bit of both. And then the Eldar, yeah, like Drukhari are great alone. They're also great with allies, other Eldar, and Eldar are great without, you know.
Yep.
Orcs, I want to say they're top 5 because I'm playing them and I'm getting them ready, and I think they might be. I really, really, really do. I don't have any practical data to back me up. They have won a tournament or 2 in ITC, which is really good. So it's Orcs or Knights or Nids. See, that's the thing, is right now Tyranids are super hot
and they just
very,
all got
very
cheaper.
good. And they just all got cheaper. Gene Stealers did not need to get cheaper.
No, but they're getting a book soon.
So like, you never know. Like top 5, do I put Nids? If I'm doing a 5-man team, do I play Eldar, Dark Eldar, Tyranids?
I think if you want Nids to be good, though, you have to be pretty good at playing it.
And you need like 200 models.
Yeah, and you got to be fast. But I think they can be very good. They can be good for sure. I think Gene Stealer Cult is going to be good. I have this feeling in my gut. Maybe it's just the 120 Gene Stealers sitting on the shelf behind me have this feeling in their gut, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, but a good NID list is not newbie friendly because it's 200 models, and 200 models is very hard to buy, paint, build. It's very hard to use because it's really easy to get trapped because you make one little mistake and you have to move 200 guys. So if you make one mistake and somebody traps you, you're in trouble. That's a big deal with horde armies is placement and blocking people out. So they're not horde armies aren't necessarily newbie friendly, but they're very stable and they're really good to consistently do well. They generally don't win big tournaments because of the fact that they're a bit slower and they don't do as much usually. They're just very safe, so they consistently do well, but they don't win. So it really depends. Like Yanari, a lot of those guys tend to win big or win decent and lose a game, and then they're like out. Whereas like a Tyranid player might just like mediocre minor win his way all the way up. And still not win, but he's up there. Yeah. So it's a good enough list, yeah.
So a question came up, which I thought might be an interesting discussion at this point, because it might change all of this a little bit, and that's to be determined. But in the new chapter approved, the missions, which a lot of people end up, like say ETC will probably start incorporating chapter approved missions. A lot of the missions now don't do alternating deployment. It's you drop, I drop, done.
Going back to the old way. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So what do you think of that, Chris? Do you think that's going to change things immensely?
Is it going back? So I did see that briefly, and I had this question because the article I was reading. I didn't. Is it you don't roll for first turn, right? It's whoever drops first goes first.
Yeah. So basically,
right. You just get to seize.
You roll to deploy, and then you drop your entire army, and then the other person drops. And
then whoever drops first goes first.
Yeah, it's like AOS. Well, not even like AOS.
No, because you drop your whole army.
Yeah, you just drop your whole army. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like 5th edition. And right up until... I like that way superior to drop unit, and then leave it up to luck. I actually liked it before they did the roll, where it was you have less drops, you go first. Because I believe... I'd rather know for a fact that I'm going second and deploy for that than leave it up to chance. I've had so many tournament games. A game with Devin actually comes to mind where he put 2 units of Shining Spears on the line, and I deployed my big horde of Thousand Suns, and it was who goes first because he deployed that way. Yanari can maybe deploy back and not take that risk, but he deployed right up on the line. He won first turn. Boom, went in, killed 200 dudes, whatever. It's an exaggeration, but he killed a lot of my stuff. Whereas this way, if I know I'm going second, I can totally just deploy for that. I can hide in a corner. I can deploy really aggressively, but hide certain elements. I could deep strike more units than I normally would. You have a lot more options. This way of deployment makes things that go in reserve very valuable. Because when you know you're going second, you want to be able to drop like 1,000 points if you can or more, because it goes by power level and units combined. You can generally you might even be able to build lists that you can put 1,200 points, 1,300 points off the table, which is fantastic because then the other guy goes first. Yeah, he might wipe a lot of your stuff out, and then you come in turn 2 and you get him. And it kind of gives that tactical element to it. So it'll make a lot more units valuable, like units that can sit on the board and not die turn 1. They can hide really well. Things that are maybe high power level but low points, if that exists. I know there's a few things that kind of break that so that you can get more stuff off the table. I really like that a lot. The current way for deploying is actually, I think, very stupid. You put units down one after one. Then you roll to see who goes first, and one player gets a +1, and then the other player gets to seize. And you're like
too many of repetitive thing over and over. It also slows the game down a lot.
Oh, it definitely does. And the best part is you're in a tournament. Okay, but dude, before we get started, let's roll. You're deploying first. I'm gonna go take a leak. You go take a leak. You come back. The other guy goes, "Okay, your turn." He goes, takes a leak, comes back, or a smoke break. Like it makes a big difference. Like you have a 5 minutes to deploy, and how many times do you play a guy and he screwed up his deployment and he wants to nudge a few models to fit a demon prince or something in, and you just let him, right? And because I come from the 5th edition, I just let people do it. I don't care. Like, nudge your stuff. Yeah, you could have pre-measured it, but it would have slowed the game down. Let's just speed it up. But this gets rid of all that. You can place your stuff down. You can shift it a little bit. Makes it a lot easier. I definitely like it.
I find in AOS a big part of list building is how many drops do you want. Are you trying to build a list that needs to go first, so you have to run a battalion just because you want that, or you need to hit that 3-4 drop sweet spot so that you're most of the time going first, because that really matters to your army. It adds another dimension to the list building, which I find
agree.
interesting.
Yeah, in this you'll see armies that want to go second, like, because if I build an army that wants to go second, then it's the same thing. So if you and I go to the table and I build a list that goes second, if you're not expecting it, you want to go first, I am going second. So you have like a 50 to 100%. It's like it's just like you're going to go second if you kind of counter meta it. And AOS, they make you pay for that. Like the battalions are super expensive and they let you go first, guaranteed, but you're paying for them at such a premium that it kind of balances itself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this, like I was thinking that, like this new, if they go to that 5th edition style, I'm going to call it that, because that's where it first was really pioneered. Things like obliterators for me in my chaos might be a lot better. Commandos are way better for my orcs. The Ludas might be less effective because maybe people can kill them a lot faster. So it's definitely cool. Storm Boys might be a lot better. Very exciting. You might want to take, Pain Boys, because right now there's a big debate. Do you take a Pain Boy as Evil Sons and a Pain Boy of Bad Moons so that your Ludas and Grots get the 6 up and your other boys get the 6 up? Or do you just take one Pain Boy, and which one do you take? It's a big debate that I'm personally struggling with right now in my list. Because if I get rid of the Pain Boy, I could add in a knob with a wall banner. And I think this style of play, if you know that you have that many drops and you're going second, or if you know that you're just going to go second, then you can plan for that. By taking the extra Pain Boy might be worth it because you're planning on going second, so you want to keep your guys alive. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. Yep. And they added this 2CP cover stratagem. And while the purpose of that was to make sure you don't get shot off the board in the first turn, I think that actually adds strategy to whether you want to go first or second. So like my Custodes list, almost always now I want to go second because you aren't doing anything to me with 1-up save and a -1 to hit banner, right? And then I have most mission formats give you a slight advantage for going second. So I'm walking up to that table, unless you deploy first, you get the +1, you win the roll, and then you give me first turn, I'm going second in every other instance. So
yeah, and if I was playing your Custodes, I would say you deploy first, you'd get to go first. That's exactly what I would do. And I would deploy for that. Or if we were playing you, you'd probably say the same. You'd probably try to go second, but at least I would know that, because to me, deployment is the most important part of the game. So if you know you're going second, or you know you're going first, without having that roll off, +1 really means nothing. I know it changes the odds, blah blah blah, but to me, it's still too risky. You both kind of have to deploy super defensively in that case. Whereas this will definitely allow people to plan it out. This makes the game so much more tactical, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want a competitive game. You have to do it this way. That's the best way. That changed 5th edition. That made the game competitive for me. 4th and 3rd, not competitive. 5th, they had that style of deployment. It went competitive.
Cool. Let's
Any other questions?
Get back to mail.
Yeah, we're way behind.
Tom wrote like an essay about something about custom force fields, so it's TLDR. So.
Well, so I just want to finish off because Adam's email was really he put a lot of effort in.
Going with it.
Just the last thing is he wanted to run by a new podcast segment where we would look at less competitive armies and maybe try to make them competitive. I love this idea. Mm-hmm. Like maybe go through a review of like Dark Angels or something like that. I love the idea.
Someone sent us a list or something. Or maybe not so much focus.
I get a lot of lists, and lists are very hard for that. I would love to do that. The problem is being comfortable in talking about something. If we don't play a lot of games with it, we can't. So we'd have to bring in experts to talk about the suboptimal factions, which I'm totally open for.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be something we could work on.
Yep.
Okay, that was Adam. Next one was Euless has a speed Necron armory that he wanted to run by his plan. So I'll give the gist of it to you, Darren, and you can kind of give any comments that you think on it.
What's a speed Necron army?
A lot of toughness 5, durable, flying, and shooting. So basically, I'll just run through it really quickly, and then you can offer your insight, because I think you've played them a lot recently, right?
I did when Phil was playing, because he was playing Necrons. I haven't literally seen any Necrons for months.
So Outrider Nefrek, HQ is a Cryptek with Chrono and Veil. Sorry, 6 destroyers, 5 destroyers with 1 heavy, 2x9 Tomb Blades, because they're very fast up as 5. Then he has another Outrider. HQ is it's a Nefrek as well. HQ is a Cryptek with a cloak, 10-inch move and fly, 9 scarabs, 6 scarabs, 4 scarabs, and 2 Doomsday arcs. So his plan is to the Tomb Blades are 44 inches away with the scarabs in front. 1 unit of destroyers are in deep strike, and the other is hugging the Veil Cryptek out of line of sight. And he's basically going for... And then he's going to bump everything up, drop in his reserves, which of course will be turn 2 now and stuff. But he could almost chill turn 1, kill turn 1 for both players, and then come at you turn 2 in an aggressive way. Any comments, Darren?
Yeah, I think we got to hold judgment on Necrons until after chapter approved, because a lot of their stuff went down. The general thinking is that it's still...
He did send this a month ago.
Yeah,
so
I know. No, I realized that. So, before chapter approved, Tesseract Vaults were big, obviously. I hate those things. And probably the only other semi-viable way of playing Necrons was to spam Destroyers, because Destroyers can be pretty good with all the stratagems that they got. But, they just overprice or overvalue the reanimation, right? So everything was super expensive. Even your basic troops and stuff was super expensive. So with the points drops, though, I think things like Tomb Blades are actually really good, because anything with high mobility is good in this game, even if it's not super survivable, especially in formats like ITC or even like Maelstrom cards, right? So I think Necrons will get better, but I still think they're on the cusp, because they're still expensive for the fact that on a 5-up you can come back. And
which is that's a knife edge rule, right?
Yeah, it literally is.
So, like, if they make it a little bit better, they might be gross.
Yeah, then it
they
gets
make
gross.
It a little bit worse.
Yeah,
and I like the concept of the list, because I think it rewards good play. It lets you dictate where and when you fight. You have a lot of tricks, a lot of things off the board. I can't speak. I don't play enough Necrons to really be like, yeah, change this unit out and fix that. But I think anything where it's thought out, where I'm at max range, I'm hidden, you do minimum damage to me, and then I strike, I think you're thinking in the correct direction to make Necrons good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from a patron. It is Josh. He's going to Adepticon in March, so you'll definitely have to stop by and say hello to us, because Darren and I will be there. We'll be playing AOS doubles on the Friday. Team CanHammer. Look for us. We should have a super secret army.
Super secret.
You should know it's us by looking at it. I'm the fat one. He's the skinny Asian one. We'll leave it at that. But definitely stop by. So he's looking at making a 1750 to 2,000 point Drukhari list. Great faction choice in the current game. And they're pretty safe after chapter approved.
Yep.
He owns an Archon. You need one of those generally.
Yep.
2 succubuses with agonizers, 1 witch squad, 1 warrior squad, 1 venom. He has 3 reavers, and he wants to do a more varied Drukhari force. So Drukhari are probably the best faction to do a varied, like, competitive force. They have I would say they have almost the highest variety of effective units. So there's the standard staples in the list that are very good. Talos, Grotesques, Witches are good, but they're in large number.
In large numbers, yeah.
Or actually, that's not true. You can do witches and venoms. That's actually very effective as well. I played a guy, with I think it was like 3 or 4 small witch units and venoms. It was actually really terrifying.
Venoms are decent.
It's not like the top, but that book is so deep. And when I say a book is deep, I mean the variety is there. You could take so if I don't know how, like, everything you got there, you can definitely play with for sure. You can go out there. You're like, well, I don't want to spam 3 Ravagers, but you could buy 1, and that's an excellent choice. You could buy a unit of Talos, another excellent choice.
Can't go wrong.
You can pair that with a unit of Grotesques. Now you're not spamming. You're still doing variety, but you have a lot of really cool stuff. Racks are an excellent unit. So you could do that as well. You could do some Witches and Venoms. And I think you could do a really competitive, balanced force. Now, if you want to start, making that list more refined, you're probably going to want like 1 or 2 units of Talos. Grotesques are good, or you can go 3 units of Talos, depends on what you want to do. 3 Ravagers are generally a must. Lots of people run 3 Ravagers. They're excellent. They're, for what they are, they're super tough. They put a lot of damage out. I've played against both with the Dark Lances and the, what's the gun? It's escaping it. Disintegrators. And both options are amazing. Disintegrator is obviously the way better choice, but I've played against guys with them as Dark Lances, and they do work as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to definitely cookie cutter it, but
yeah, the list I'm running right now is fairly balanced. So I've got my triple Ravagers at the back, a couple of Archons, some Kabalites just as my objective holding guys, and then I've got Prophets with some Grotesques and Racks and Talos, and it's a very fun list to play. It's some shooting, there's lots of combat, it's hard to kill those Prophets guys, and I still got the little dudes to run around getting stuff. So it's a very fun list to play. It's not overly powerful. I can definitely see things that would just kill it, but and now that Vecta's been wrecked, it's not such an auto win button anymore. So I think that's a nice balance there. I think Lawrence over at Tabletop, he might be trying to make Reaver jet bikes great again. But we'll see. And Scary would probably have something to say about that.
Oh, I left that out. Reaver jet bikes are not bad.
Yeah,
they're not amazing, but they're not bad by any means. They're very fast, and they do like fill a hole. And if you're going for variety, there's some of the coolest models in the game. People just tend to gravitate towards the more survivable stuff in that army.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that's a good choice, and hopefully it works out for you. Obviously, you want to check out Scardcast,
Yes.
because he basically lives, eats, sleeps, breathes Dark Eldar, and he has his ETC Dark Eldar list or ITC list is pretty much refined down to perfection. He's tweaking minor things here and there every list I see, but for the most part, it's tweaked down. And I think the Dark Eldar Drukhari definitely figured out what the best list is. So you could take the best list and remove some of the duplicate choices and just add in the stuff that you want. What are the guys that the Devastator guys that Deep Strike called? They're Scourges?
Scourges, yeah.
I like them a lot too. They're expensive, but I like them because they drop in, they kill something, and then they die. But you don't see them very often, but they're a cool unit as well. I'm not necessarily saying go out and buy them unless you like them and you want to put them in, but they add variety.
Yeah, I think witches can do work, but I think you have to run a whole crap ton of them, and then they can do stuff for you. But just like a one unit, probably not a super optimal choice, but witches can be good if you run a bunch of them.
Next is from Kyle. He came to PNP 11, or was that 12? I think we advertised it as 11. It was 12.
I think it was supposed to be 12, but never mind.
We advertised it as 11. Yeah.
Reset.
We have issues, Darren. We have issues.
I can't count. Okay.
And he can't wait till CanHammer team tournament. Well, we have good news because we are 3 days away from signing all the contracts and getting all the rental stuff. So
Boom.
That's coming soon. Registration will probably be in January.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. So he sent a couple lists. We can I'll run through the demon one first because we can kind of talk about that really quickly because it's pretty solid. Demon Prince of Corn from the Demon Book, because he's basically the night-killing Corn Demon Prince we've talked about many times.
Yep.
Poxbringer, Sloppity Bale Piper, 22 Pink Horrors. Big unit of 30 Plague Bearers. Then he has a Supreme Command, Arumon on disc, Demon Prince of Tzeentch, and then he has just a regular sorcerer, a cheap sorcerer, which I'm not sure if you need. And then he has the Renegade Armigers with the 2 autocannons, 3 of those. I read this list and I really, really, really like it. There's a couple things I would maybe do, and they're not major. I don't think you have 2 Demon Princes, you have Arumon, so you have the magic number of 3 with 1,000 Suns, which means you can use all the stratagems, the +2 to cast, so you're pretty sold. So you don't need the Sorcerer. I don't think he adds anything. I did run like 2 or 3 Sorcerers on foot before, and sometimes to spam the Smite it's good, but I don't necessarily find I get value out of them as much anymore. Plague Bearers are excellent. The only, I don't want to force you to, I feel bad saying it, but I would just add a 3rd unit of Plague Bearers, get rid of the Horrors. Actual is 22 pair of Brimstones, so it's only 66 points. So never mind. I misread that completely. Never mind. Those are Brimstones, 22. I would even just split that into 2 units of 10 for backfield protection. Leave that, ignore the 3rd Plague Bearers. You could get rid of the Sorcerer. I like the Armigers. It gives you the range. It gives you the shooting that army lacks.
I hate those guys.
The only issue with them is they're going to get shot.
Yeah.
That's why Obliterators, they're not superior to these guys at all. Not even close. These guys are way better in every way. But the reason you'll see a unit of them is that they're off the board, so they don't get blown away turn 1. So you're going to have to play these Armigers really well. You're going to have to be very far back. You're going to have to use their range to protect them, and you're going to have to use the Plague Bearers to kind of keep the enemies back. I'm going to go back that I think 90 Plague Bearers would be better in this list. I think 60 can be dealt with too quickly. So if you get rid of the Brimstones, you get rid of that Sorcerer, you can probably go for that. But then again, then you have to paint another 30. So what do I know?
Yeah, the other thing is, I guess because they're Renegade, they don't get the stratagems, and some of the stratagems for the Armigers are really good. Like the full rerolls one is really good.
But he can't get those.
No, he can't get them. So they're a little bit less effective as Renegades. And I guess he's just running them instead of Zangors, basically. I mean, the other version of this list would have a whole crap ton of Zangors, right?
Yeah, Zangors are going up in points. They're also, it's fun. This list might be able to just sit in a corner
and just shoot
and be more stable. Because those Armigers, they can go through infantry. They have enough shots to go through medium levels of infantry. Nothing crazy.
And you just use your Brimstones, just form little circles around them, and now without the flying to charge, they're pretty safe. Because he comes to all our events and he's a patron, we'll go through his NID list quick. You'll have to. It's a Kronos, Hive Tyrant, 2 Devourers, Neurothrope, Ripper Swarms, big unit of Hive Guard, some Carnifexes with 2 Devourers, Old One Eye, Swarmlord, Gene Stealers, and Termagants. So your list will be underpointed after tomorrow, which is, I guess, really good news. The Hive Guard star is really good in ITC, where first floor ruins block line of sight, because you can just shoot everything twice and not be shot back, which is great. Gene Stealers went down in points cost. They're amazing. With the Swarmlord, they're fantastic. They put the pressure on your enemy, so you're going to be able to shoot, control the board. The Carnifexes are decent. I like them. A lot of people don't. I would maybe like to see more infantry, more Termagants. I would replace Termagants with Hormagaunts.
Okay, but I would like to see more infantry. Termagants, Hormagaunts, more of them, less other things. Ripper Swarms are fine too, but
the Hormagaunts with that 6-inch pile-in is just so good at tying things up and not getting shot. And
but your Gene Stealers, it's going to be waves of Gene Stealers to tie up and distract the enemy.
But still, Termagants seem not as good. If you're going to spend those points on some kind of gaunt, then I would buy the Hormagaunts. But Swarmlord just went down 50 points.
Yeah, well,
which is epic.
Yeah, so this list that he's giving us is definitely better, and the idea is it's an all comers list as their first attacker, so it needs to be very stable. Oh, so that's for ETC. I thought I read ITC. It doesn't matter if it's for ETC. Yeah, we should have good enough terrain. You could, if you're going up as a first attacker, you'll get first table pick, which means you'll be able to pick a table that you can hide your that you can definitely hide your hive guard behind, which will be excellent. Uh, Yeah, I like it. It's a good start. I didn't see a lot of Hive Guard though at the ETC, but that's also because people weren't expecting the level of terrain. With the better terrain, they're definitely better. And the Gene Stealers are really hot right now, so I'd say it's pretty good. Maybe you could even just get more Gene Stealers if they came down that much. So all in all, yeah, solid lists. I can't, of course, tell you what we're taking because we're too serious.
Really now?
I don't know very many good NID players either.
Not
A
around
good NID.
here.
So there's two good Canadian NID players that I kind of know. There might be more. One is Dustin in Cambridge. So if you can do some reps against him, he has a pretty well developed NID list, and he's been doing really well with it, from what I understand. And then there's Mr. McDougall out in British Columbia. I think he's in like northern. I forget the exact city he's from. He's, I think, one of the top ranked. He's really high in the ITC with Tyranids. So there's a couple good people to watch and consult that are probably better at NIDs than I am. But I definitely like that list. And I think that. So I get a lot of, yeah, sorry, I'm just going through hey guys, wondering when registration starts for CanHammer team. I got about 1 million of those. It is coming in January, February. We don't have the date set in stone, so we don't want to announce it. The approximate time frame is what, Darren?
For CanHammer team?
Yeah.
May 11th weekend. It's almost set in stone. I wouldn't go buy your plane tickets or anything right now, but that is most likely the weekend, May 11th weekend. And this year it will be in Ajax.
Yeah, so we did move it east a little bit. We're sorry for the Cambridge guys. You might have to either drive an hour or get a hotel. It just makes it a lot easier for a lot of people, mainly us, with all the terrain.
And we wanted to expand, and they had the old Portuguese was just not big enough. We were already pretty squeezed last year.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Is right now I believe we can expand to 120 guaranteed, and we would like to go up higher. We just need to find... See, Darren says that. I just know that we can only accommodate 140 tables right now. But if we could do 150, that'd be amazing.
Yep.
So maybe the Basement Collective can help us out.
Yeah, well, we got lots of collaborators now. We got Anvil. We got Basement Collective. Oh. You know, we got resources. We pull it together. Yeah.
So those are the emails that I wanted to take time with on the show. We're going over the hour mark. So do we have any other questions from the listeners right now?
No, we don't. So no other questions. So,
good, because I think I like the format better, where we answer them as we go through the podcast. That way we don't just kind of run through them at the end. I like that a lot more.
Yeah, I like that we're streaming and we can interact with our audience. I really enjoy that, actually.
A little bit. So if you have any questions right now, type them in.
Put them in
quickly.
Twitch.
We'll be watching. What else?
I just wanted to mention a few things coming up. So we've got the Hammer and Anvil charity 40K tournament, January 19th.
Why is it Hammer and Anvil? That sounds kind of suspicious.
Yeah, because it's CanHammer and Anvil of War Gaming. So this was a brilliant name. Yes, I'm so.
Who came up with that? Adam came up with that. Right?
I think it was Adam. I can't remember. I'd like to take
credit.
It was definitely
It was definitely Anvil of War that came up with that name, because we are not that clever.
No, I'm definitely not that clever. But yeah, Hammer and Anvil, that's a charity tournament. It's just going to be 1,500 points, single battalion, and all the proceeds go to Brothers and Sisters Lanark Branch. And we hope to do this every year and to pick a different charity, or if people have a specific charity that they feel strongly about, they can, of course, write a case to us about, that they want us to do that for the next one. So that's
Oh, and we
certainly.
should say the loot that Sequence supplied
Oh
is
yeah.
unreal.
So Dan
The amount
just
of
dropped off this massive box outside my house yesterday of just like Warhammer stuff. It's crazy.
yeah to give away. So it's a lot. There is a Citadel Project box in there, which I have one. It's awesome if you travel.
And a copy of Blackstone Fortress, which
Ooh.
I was very tempted to buy for those models because they're pretty cool.
So it's a good set. There's a couple cool things in there I saw. So definitely come and play. Where can people get more information on that?
If you look on the Anvil, well, if you just go into Facebook and you look for Hammer and Anvil charity, you'll find it. Or it's an event off the Anvil of War Gaming Facebook page as well. So you'll definitely find it there. Weekend right after that is Canadian Shield, which was resurrected by Dylan at Multizone, and that's going to be a 2-day, 5-round, 1750 ITC event. And so I know lots of people going to that and sort of prepping their armies. So that's
Did you get your
gonna be a big
ticket?
one. I can't because we're also doing Sudbury the weekend before the charity tournament. So that's just too many
Yeah.
weekends for me.
Sudbury's planned for me, and the week after I bought my ticket, but nobody knows. So I'm going to try to slip that one in
And
because I
then,
can't go to LVO this year. So
and then LVO's in February, obviously, if people are going to that. I don't think we have any events, but we might do a P&P in February or an AOS event. And then Adepticon Bloom. And then, CanHammer team will be May. CCBB, advance notice, August, mid-August, sort of 17th, 18th area. We haven't decided yet if we're doing Friday, but I think a lot of people want it. So we have to decide what we want to do with the Friday.
of CCBB.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do too many like little games. I want to have an incentive for people to book it off work and come in, like the doubles or something big or something cool.
Yeah.
So if you have any feedback, like what would you take the Friday off of for CCBB? Like we could even do. This is something that I thought would be really cool. And give me feedback. We're not going to do this. We're not saying we're going to do this. I'm throwing it out there. So don't rage. Worst case, we're probably going to be the original format. But I would like to do Friday, Saturday, 4 games and 3 games or something like that. Do a qualifier on Sunday and a doubles tournament on Sunday.
Yeah. So like maybe
So
like
if
3
so
and
that
3, and then like the championship on the Sunday.
but I want to make like the doubles tournament like the premier event. So it's like you want to play in the doubles. I don't know. That'd be cool. Because I just don't want but then again, some people might be like, well, I can play Friday, I can play Saturday, I can get drunk with my Warhammer buddies and then go home Sunday at noon, play some mini game tournaments on Sunday. So just let us know what you would like us to do. Capital City is a tournament more than a convention. It's getting pretty big now, but tournaments are first. The convention is second. So
Yeah. So we got a general question here from Snoop DeVille 3. What's your opinion about warp spiders now? How many warp spiders do you own, Chris?
too many to legally play.
80 something, I believe, is the number, which is a lot.
No, it's like 78 or something.
Oh, sorry. Only 70 something. Only 70 something.
I can't remember. I keep counting it every time we have this discussion, and I go back. And I don't know. It's enough that I have units that have the same pose.
So do you think they're playable?
In what way? So I don't know if they changed or not. I didn't look. Did they go down in points?
I don't believe so, but I think the problem is everything else is so good.
No, it's not even that. It's that. So what do you mean? Are they like if you want to take one unit of them? If you're doing an Alatiok detachment and you want to take a unit of warp spiders, so they're like -2 to hit. Yeah, they're not terrible. They've never been terrible in this edition. If you run one unit of 10, you can then take a warlock. You can give them a -3 to hit. They're actually a pretty survivable, decent unit. If you're talking about doing an army of them, you really can't. You can do 3 units. More than one unit gets exponentially worse because you want them to be -3 to hit. That's kind of their trick, or -2. So they got to stay at range. They have a short range gun. They have to be 12 inches away to be -2 to hit. You could do 30 of them. you go second. You get you could deep strike them even, which is great. So they do give the Eldar more reserves. I love them, but yeah, I don't. I would say no change.
Yeah.
No change. You
Yeah.
could run one unit and make it work, though. I strongly believe you could run one unit and make it work.
And Jono says, "Thanks for awesome to listen to us from Australia, which is
Ooh.
great. What I guess is 10 a.m. there, which is crazy,
Well, that's great.
but that's
Yeah, on a
awesome.
Saturday. On a Saturday,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks
It's
for
ahead of
tuning.
us.
Thanks for
So
tuning
he's
in.
he's probably drunk and having a barbecue, right?
Just going back to that Eldar question,
Just,
it's kind
just
of
kidding.
underplayed, but why aren't people playing Swooping Hawks more?
Because the good stuff's very expensive. That is another issue with the Yanari is, the units that you need to do well with are very, very good, but they also cost a lot. Like Shining Spears aren't cheap. Yet maybe they should be more expensive. I'm not going to say no, but they're not cheap. They're expensive. You take 2 units of them, and then you take your characters, you take your troops to get your CP. You're like out of points.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas back in seventh, we could build armies around swooping hawks, and you could build armies around warp spotters, and they were very, very, very good.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could probably take a unit of them too. It depends.
I think you
You
could
might,
take them over Warp Spiders.
yeah, you'll definitely.
Just drop
But
them in.
like either one, if you want to run them, you could run this stuff no problem. You don't want to run too much of it. You want to keep your list still based around the stuff that's competitive. But yeah, why not, man?
Yeah,
They have a lot of shots. You get them re-rolling ones. Actually, well, so that's the problem is that the Shining Spears are really good at clearing hordes because Swooping Hawks are really good at clearing like guardsmen because they got 3 shots each, strength 3, and you can get them tons of re-rolls and yeah,
who
yeah.
doesn't want to clear guardsmen? It's super fun.
That's the thing is that there's other units that do what they do, but also do it something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's the age-old problem with the aspect warriors. Anything else there, Darren?
No questions at this time. I guess we want to just talk about how do you think what's your year in review? What's your highlight of 2018 Warhammer wise?
Oh, the highlight. This actually was my highlight was winning the CanHammer team tournament for the first time.
What? I
I
don't
think it was the
remember that.
first. It was the first time we went with a real team. I know it sounds fishy because we own it, but as Canadian captain, I have to play in it. It helps us sharpen our skills. That's part of the deal when we ran it. We started it off as a practice event for the ETC. So we actually have other people run it. I don't run it day of. John Green did all the work day of and stuff. So it wasn't a conflict of interest. But yeah, we won that. That was a big highlight of my year. The Orcs getting a book was another surprise. I'm not gonna lie, the Night Codex really had a negative impact on my 40K enjoyment. I don't think I made that known, but I found the Knights way too powerful and way too popular way too quickly. And the timing of that book right before the ETC gave some of the more experienced teams enough time to use those builds. And teams like ours that struggle a little bit to get the optimal builds ended up being really hurt. And every team had 2 Knights except for us. And it really, we had 1 Knight player, but it really had a negative impact on that. Shadespire Season 2 was a very big highlight for me. I feel like that game kind of came into its own with the second season.
Yep, yep. For me,
What about you?
My 2017 ended with disappointment in the Dark Angel Codex. So when they announced that Custodes was coming out, because I was always looking at the Forge World 30K stuff for Custodes, I'm like, yeah. So I was hard into Custodes. I've been hard into Custodes since, and a great army, and I love the models. So that was a highlight for me, was getting a second love army because the Dark Angels weren't doing well. And then the other highlight for me was actually nothing to do with me playing, but just running Capital City Bloodbath, being involved in that, TOing that, just meeting everybody, big tournament. Doing some recording some battle reports with Denise from Australia. Like that was a big highlight for me. Was being part of Capital City Bloodbath, and I didn't even play in the tournament, so that was a big highlight for me. And I also enjoyed because Shadespire kind of tallied off. So when Nightfall came out, it was like hard back into that. And and then the other highlight was actually new season Sigmar, because Sigmar had dropped off since 8th came out in 2017, and then now I'm hard into Sigmar too.
It was well overdue. I because of the ETC, I had to focus differently, but they needed a new edition. There was it was getting really stale. Sigmar, there was a few lists that broke the game. And it was nice to kind of reset that. Now I think, gosh, there's so many good armies now.
Yeah, I can't stop commissioning Dan. I can't stop. Yeah, I think it's been a really good year.
Like our super secret project army, which we won't tell, is a really good army, I think. We have Deepkin are great. Fireslayers suck now, which really pisses me off. Stormcasts are great, but their build is... Ugh. So I kind of got burned in the new edition of Sigmar, but that's why we did the super secret army, which is going to be awesome because I'm super stoked.
Yep,
but
that's going to be good. So we got a question from.
So in the chat, maybe if you have anything, just tell us what your highlight was for the year.
Yeah, let us know what your highlight for the year was. I think GW had generally a good year. There's a question from Master Strider. It's hard to read the color. Master Strider 09 about Custodes. What do you think it's possible now to run Valoris, because he went down 65 points, 185, with your 3x3 guard battalion and a big unit of Valaris?
Can you just can you briefly explain what he does, because I cannot remember.
So Trajan is the boss. He is like a shield captain, but harder to kill. He comes native 3+ invuln. And he has a strength 8 axe and has gives everything reroll wound rolls of 1 and can heal himself.
How many points more is he?
He was 250 and he's gone down to 185.
And what was a shield captain again?
Shield captain's 160.
So he's not that much more for a few extra abilities. And the
problem is that
sounds good.
But you can deep strike.
Oh, he's on foot. I thought he was a bike.
He's on foot. I've
never heard of him, so that's weird.
Yeah, I really want foot Custodes to work, but I think the key to that had to be the Custodian Guard comes down in price. Your basic 9 dudes that you have to run, they're still too expensive and not mobile, so they're still not better than bikes. I think you can do well, especially if you're playing ITC and you can hide inside buildings, especially 8-man Alaris unit sitting inside of that silly little bunker now that they got right in the middle of the table. They can just pop out and kick stuff's ass. So that might work in the ITC format, but generally the bikes are just faster. They shoot more. They hit harder in combat. It's just better. And certainly for ETC, I think bikes are definitely better than foot Custodes.
I know somebody that'll disagree with you. He's one of the initiates on the ETC team. I won't blow him up in case he's prepping something, but the infantry's not bad.
It's not bad. You can do well. Like Jeff Robinson did well with it. I just think bikes are better. But if the Custodian Guard
bikes
came down,
win bigger. They win bigger, but they're riskier. That's the problem with the bikes. The bikes are amazing. They're one of the best units in that book. It's just like, I don't know if you've experienced. You either probably win big or lose big, right?
You have your bad matchups.
That's it. That's the downside. If those bad matchups become more numerous after chapter approved, then maybe the infantry will be the future of the Custodes, but maybe not. We have to really look at. That's the one thing, is you can't just look at your army's points costs in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You have to look at it. Like if Darren says, "Hey, the worst matchup for Custodes is Knights," and all the Knights went up 900 points. Well, now Custodes are really good on bikes. But if Knights all dropped in points, now the bike Custodes are worse. So we have to really look at the whole picture, which I don't think we have yet.
So you will see on the channel me running some foot with big Alaris, like that exact list, because I want to try it out. But I just think it won't be as good. But we'll see. I'd love to eat my words because I have a lot of those models that I don't get to play. And a new Telemon that I like to play if anyone ever finally wrote those rules.
Yeah, Custodes and Sisters might be a thing.
Yeah,
They
I
might
love
pair
that.
up really nice.
I think so. Possible. Snoop Deville 3 says his highlight was Deepkin and Beast of Chaos books.
Oh, I forgot that. The Beast of Chaos book was a super highlight because it showed a return to the old ways. It showed that they didn't have to reinvent every faction and change their name to something goofy. They could return to the classic kind of feel, but also make it new and modern. That was definitely a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting is
I
in
never
the
played mine. I built the army. I built a list. I bought some stuff,
yeah, where
and
is it,
I
man?
never actually pulled it out.
We got to get it on the table.
Do you know why? Because I have everything but 40 gore Ungor. And I went to buy 40 Ungor and decided against it and just went back to the super secret army.
You know what's interesting is so I listen to a lot of AOS coverage in the UK, and they have a fairly well built meta there, and we haven't seen the Beast of Chaos yet.
They're
And it's been a
good.
while, so where is it? Are people really still painting it? I mean, that's usually the thing, right? Oh, nobody's out yet. Is the people still painting it? But yeah,
The problem is I started with the Zangor Beast of Chaos list, and then I'm having trouble deciding whether the Beast of Chaos Zangor list is better than the um, Zinch Disciples of Zinch list. You know, there's a it's tough and it's a lot of models, and I don't know. I don't think they're top tier, but I love them.
whisper it.
I love them. Well, it's if we get the Dispossessed book and they bring back all the dwarf stuff, and then we're way overdue for a couple elf books, like high elves and wood elves and all the classic elves need either get rid of the models, get rid of their rules, or actually update them. That game could be really, really solid. And I think actually Dispossessed, because the dwarf range is huge, and most of it's very outdated rules wise, but brand new end of previous edition fantasy, 8th edition fantasy models. Like they're brand new. They match the new aesthetic. There was a few. We played Dispossessed once. We talked about on the show a few times, and the guy had the bomb of the. I forget their names. They're the Ironbreaker. The other guys in the Ironbreaker kit, the shooting ones, Fire Drakes, and he did the Fire Drake bomb with the Lord, where you teleport, and it was a pretty cool list. It's just it was too expensive and it wasn't effective. So, like, it wasn't good enough.
Yep. So John O, who's of course listening from Australia or watching, his highlight of the year was seeing more international coverage of the game, so that he, for example, could watch ETC from Australia.
Yeah, there was a lot of that this year. I don't know the guy's name, but there was a guy from Australia with like a shopping cart filming all his games. I wish I could remember his name. I'm so bad. I run into a lot of people in my day job, so I forget names. But there was that, and then the Polish team broadcasted, and that's really good. Yeah, we're getting more global. Except for the Americans, they tend to focus on America, and then everybody else is kind of international. It's kind of fun.
We've got like Honest Wargamer coming to Adepticon to cover that, and I'm hoping he's going to actually come and cover Capital City as well. So the world is getting smaller due to technology. There's a lot more streaming. Every little tournament's getting streamed, and so at any given time you can find some 40K on somewhere. So it definitely is bringing farther parts of the world together, and we're becoming more aware of other parts.
So I think we've hit about 90 minutes. So I think that was a good show. Let's cut it off there, man.
Yep. Thank you very much for joining us on Twitch, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for your support. And our Twitch is very small, and it's growing because we restarted from scratch. We weren't regularly streaming for 2 years, so our streams are very down in numbers, and we'd like to get them back up, and we're trying to get more regular. Darren and the patrons specifically invested a lot of money in splash screens and animations, so we're hoping to get more content. So if you enjoyed this show,
sweet overlay.
It is. I don't get to look at it. Darren gets to look at everything. I only get to see Darren's photo and myself because of the way that it works. So, but with that, guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you later.
Good evening.